On this week's episode, Seth Porges drops by to talk about his 2020 with Class Action Park, what Josh is looking forward to in 2021, and hold on, I almost forgot to give my best of pop culture for this year. All this and more as we once again delve into the pop culture cosmos. And we're back with another episode of the Pop Culture Cosmos. This is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos, Game Source, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, and the Lakers Fast Break. We truly appreciate everyone out there listening to all of our great shows. And if you can, please give us that 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Plus, if you can like, share, subscribe, support, or do anything that you can to help us out here at Pop Culture Cosmos, popculturecosmos.com, and Pop Culture Cosmos out there in social media land, it is truly appreciated. Plus, also as well, just want to give you again a heads up. If you're into daily fantasy sports betting and player props, you can just head over to our new friends at thrivefantasy.com or Thrive Fantasy. Just download it on your phone off the app. Download the Thrive Fantasy app. Download the Thrive Fantasy app onto your phone today. And with this, you can go ahead and bet on either the NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball when it comes back, PGA, and esports. Bet on your favorite players, the ones that you know each and every day. You can go ahead and do so. And with your first deposit, if you type in the letters LFB upon checkout, you'll go ahead and get a matching by Thrive Fantasy for up to $50. That's right. They'll match it dollar for dollar up to $50 as long as your first deposit is over $20. Just use the code LFB. That's from our friends at Thrive Fantasy. Woo! That's always a good pitch right there. Well, it wouldn't be a Pop Culture Cosmos without my good friend. It's our own Happy Josh here from Pop Culture Cosmos. You got to check out what he's doing today at popculturecosmos.com. His awesome book, Congratulations, You Suck, which is now available at Barnes & Noble and, of course, Amazon, which I think rules the internet world. And then also as well, you can go ahead and catch his show's Topic Ocalypse, where they just dropped a new show, and also the Super BS Gamescast. It is my good friend indeed. It is Josh Peterson. What's up, man?
What's up? Hope everyone had a Merry Christmas and are on their way to having a Happy New Year. Going into 2021, man, we need this shift of year, which will hopefully come with a new shift in perspective. So it's glad to be here.
It can't come soon enough for 2021. I rest assured, I know a lot of people are looking forward to the new year. I know I am as well. But it is going to be a great show we have for you today because we got a lot of stuff to talk about on today's program, including Josh's picks for the new year. Since he is so looking forward to 2021, I asked him what he's looking forward to in pop culture for 2021. So he's going to be talking about that today. Myself, for this year, I'm going to talk about the best I saw in pop culture for 2020. And we'll also be talking to Seth Porges, the director of Class Action Park. He's going to be on the back half of the show talking about his 2020 and the reception that he's gotten from Class Action Park. Plus, he might drop some hints for his future as well. But my friend, we're going to first start off the conversation today with Wonder Woman and Soul, which did hit, and we talked about a little bit on our Friday show, the PCC Multiverse. It actually hit in theaters. Well, I guess I don't know how you could say nationwide, chain-wide, when your box office marketplace is in such disarray. Basically at this point in time, you're going to try and get anything you can out of it. And even though in most theaters they're reduced to 35% capacity or below, and even though Wonder Woman did debut day and date on HBO Max, didn't do quite bad at all. 16.7 million for a weekend for Wonder Woman. I think at this point in time, Warner Brothers is going to take anything they get, but it did debut over the weekend on HBO Max. So I want to hear your thoughts, my friend. First off, Wonder Woman 1984. Obviously, it's out there, it's trending, it's gotten a lot of support and a lot of subscriptions. I did have to say, you do have to pay for a subscription. It's not, there's no free trials, unfortunately. Well, actually, I think there is a buy way through AT&T and T and something like that. I've heard, ways that you can get around it, but for the most part, everybody that had to go into HBO Max that was interested had to go ahead and get a subscription. I want to hear your thoughts. Did you have a chance to check out Wonder Woman 1984?
I did. We just finished it yesterday.
Oh, awesome. What were your thoughts on Wonder Woman 1984?
Okay, so to start off, I did enjoy it from just an entertainment standpoint. Like I liked it, and I don't know, like I initially I was like, maybe I like that better than the first one, but I also can't tell if that's because I haven't seen like a new movie in so long. So just keep that in mind as I'm talking. All right, so here's my thoughts. Love the theme that it's based on, right? I love the whole concept of the monkey's paw, which they even like mention in the movie, right? This whole idea where like everything has every wish has a consequence, right? Every action has a reaction, like, and they Gal Gadot mentions that too, right? And that's where the guy has the wish stone. He says, I'll give you anything you want, but I'm going to take what's most important to you. So I love the theme of that. Love the cinematography. Like the colors really just like popped in this, and I've always loved this. Even in the first one, the way that they filmed the mascara, right? They have all these bright, vibrant colors, like in their uh, just in the way that the things in their culture kind of pop and shine. Loved Linda Carter's cameo in there. That was really cool. Okay.
Spoilers. I just want to make sure.
No,
Spoilers.
sorry. Yeah, Linda Carter pops up in there. All right, so now I want to move on to like some of the things that I'm a little more critical of. Okay, so here's the first part. I loved the parts with Chris Pine, right? They were really funny. They kind of brought like a comedic element to the movie that was kind of reminiscent of like 90s action films, right? Like that part where he's in the car and she's kind of stopping it, uh, about to get crushed in between the two assault vehicles, and he comes in and puts the car in there. It's just it's funny. It's kind of like has a buddy cop vibe to it. So I really enjoyed that part. In the end, though, like it kind of made Chris Pine's revival seem a little pointless. Um, just in the fact that like I know it was meant to purvey a point, but it makes it seem pointless in the fact that like why are you bringing back a character that's dead and getting us attached to him and developing him more as a character if he's just not going to mean anything in the end, you know?
Yeah.
And then going back, I really enjoyed Kristen Wiig as a Cheetah, and I think that's her name, right? Cheetah is
Yes. Cheetah.
yeah, I really enjoyed her part. It was interesting to see like her how she developed as she like sacrificed her humanity to basically become like Gal Gadot, and then she wanted to be the apex predator. Love how it was so ambiguous whether or not like she gave up her both of her wishes in the end or just one wish. My biggest complaint in the movie is Pedro Pascal. Loved him, like loved his acting in the film, but I don't feel like his character was written very well. Like we all make mistakes, we all want things, but in the end, they made it seem that like, oh yeah, this whole thing was just a mistake. It cost so many lives and all that, but it's just a big mistake, like, and then they don't specify like whether or not he gets in trouble in the end. I don't know. It just like it kind of suffered from uh the same thing the first one did, had that big build up and then nothing really happened in the end, minus the fight with one Gal Gadot and Cheetah, which was really cool. Final complaints is the part where she's flying. That didn't really, I know she has the invisible jet, love the call out to that, but when she's spinning the rope around and pulling herself across the sky, like I don't know how I feel about that. It was cool, but it didn't really seem to serve a purpose when she had like the wingsuit at home. I would have much rather seen her like flying around in that as opposed to like whipping her rope around and kind of like gliding. So overall, I mean, I give the movie probably like an 8.5. But what are your thoughts, man? Tell me what your thoughts are, and let's bounce some conversation back and forth here.
Just want to mention we are spoilers. We are going into spoiler territory here, so wanted to mention that first off. I remember the first time you and I spoke of after we saw the original Wonder Woman, and I remember me being on it a little bit higher than you. I know that the original Wonder Woman for me was something that is a pretty good movie. I think that the only drawback for me was the fact that I thought it drew too much, I guess, it drew too much from Captain America, the first Avenger, in my opinion.
Yeah,
And I
I
know
agree.
with you, you still liked it, but you didn't like it as much as I did. Well, flash forward to today, and it sounds like with your score of 8.5, that's quite a substantial bit higher than what I would actually rate the movie. I will say the performances were very strong. I'm going to start off by saying Gal Gadot and Chris Pine were terrific together. They have a great chemistry on screen, and Chris Pine stole the movie. He just was fantastic in this movie. I understand that him having a relative place in this movie, they just wanted to put and shoehorn him. They wanted to shoehorn him in there any way they could get him in there. So they used this premise to try him and try and get him to return. And we do have some comments out here. Degenerate 2018, he thought Wonder Woman 84 was awesome. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Jamie, and I'm glad you had a great time watching it. Unfortunately, I did not. Maybe she was using the restroom in the invisible jet when he was talking to you, Josh. But I'm gonna say that the performances were outstanding. What they were given with was not so outstanding. And I think the monkey's paws premise that you enjoyed, I think for me fell flat. I thought they could have used a better premise. I do like the 1984 surroundings. Obviously, being a 1980s kid, anytime we can go ahead and get some type of return to that, I do appreciate it. But I think the premise of the monkey's paw fell flat for me. I also think that, like, I agree with you on Pedro Pascal's character. I think he did a terrific job. Just what he was given to work with, I thought was not very good. I just think that again, Kristen Wiig. I mean, they were all just fantastic as far
Yeah,
as
the
in their
cast is
roles.
amazing.
Yeah, I
Hmm.
just whatever what they were given with was just not that great. I'm not gonna bag on the CGI for Kristen Wiig's cheetah character. I don't think it's Cat's level bad. I just thought it was okay. I just didn't think it was that
It was,
bad. I didn't think it was that
yeah,
good. It
it
was
was
all
so
right.
dark. It was dark, so it was like hard to really see it.
I think that helps the CGI for being noticeably bad or noticeably good, either which way. So in this case, it worked with it because I think if the more lighted the scene would be, the more any flaws or technical issues people would go ahead and watch out for would be more prevalent. But I would think right now for me, I'd probably have to give it a 6.5. Is what I'm right now, and that's just basically based off the performances because I think the movie itself, with little things in there as well thrown in that I think was very unnecessary. I think when in the middle of she's in the Middle East with Chris Pine's character, and they're going after Maxwell Lord's, aka Pedro Pascal's character, and there's a scene where they're fighting with tanks and all that, and all of a sudden she has to go ahead and save some kids, which are oblivious to the convoy coming at them at going 100 miles an hour. I thought that was absolutely ridiculous. But again, for me, the premise was the monkey paws premise. I just didn't think I just didn't feel like Pedro Pascal's character was a super villain at any point in time, even with the monkey's paws premise. I just didn't think that this. I think it was stretched out. I think the premise for me was stretched out with the monkey's paw and the
Yeah,
wishing and get everything you want, but it's taken away from you. I think it was just a hard stretch for me, and I would have liked a different scenario during the 1984 during the 1980s era there. Twitch Degenerate 2018, Jamie said liked the cameo at the end, and yes, for the references and nods, that did a lot for me. But the roles were great for what they had to work with. Again, storytelling is not always a DC strong suit. It was with the Joker. It was with a couple others, but he's falling in between, somewhere between you and I. That's going to be right around 7.5. But I did enjoy Gal Gadot's performance. I thought she was. I think she's made for Wonder Woman. She's just really brings a strong character to it. Chris Pine again, I thought stole the movie. Kristen Wiig was pretty good in her role. I have no complaints about her acting or her ability in the role. I think what she was given, she did fine with. But again, what they were given with for me was just disappointing. Disappointing per se.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't know if that's due to COVID or what happened with that, but it again, like it entertained me, but it ended with a whole lot of plot holes and inconsistencies that did not they didn't even bother to like explain. They just kind of moved past it, like when you see something like broken on the ground, you're like, oh well, I'll just go buy a new one, right? You don't even like bother to pick up the pieces or try to put it back together. I guess that was another thing. But like to me, it felt like it was able to stand on its own. Like it was its own thing. It didn't feel like Captain America like the last one did. It didn't feel like it had any like bigger ties to the DC
Oh yeah,
universe.
it had its own identity. I give you
Yeah.
that.
So I mean, I guess like it entertained me. And again, we talked about Pedro Pascal. Like they tried to paint him as a tragic villain, but in the end, you feel for him, but you don't feel sorry for him, if that makes sense. Like you feel for that relationship with his son, but he's still just kind of a jerk, I guess. Kristen Wiig's character, yeah, you do kind of feel bad for her because we whether or not we are those people or we've known people like that, she's very relatable. And so they did a great job with the characters, and the acting was good. The character development for the most part was okay, but yeah, my biggest beef was all like the plot holes. Yet, if I had to choose one to watch again, I would probably watch this one again over the first one.
For me, it was just simple as this. I mean, my family got a chance to rewatch it because my wife didn't watch it the first time, and my daughter put it online for her, and I didn't feel the urge to go see it. I probably will see it at some point in time again, maybe catch it down the line, but I just didn't see the need to go ahead and right back and I gotta watch this again, and I just didn't have that with this film. It's okay, but it ended up for me being just okay, and that's something that I thought goes down. It's a step down for me from what I thought was a pretty good movie the last time around. So those are our thoughts on Wonder Woman 1984, and I also want to thank Jamie for sharing his thoughts on Wonder Woman 1984 as well. If you have your thoughts on Wonder Woman 1984, we want to hear them. Popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. He said Wonder Woman will always be better now in the DC universe than the Bat, though, and as long as Bat fan is hard, and as a long Bat fan, it's hard for me to say, but the truth hurts. Joker, yes. Suicide Squad again, yes. But agreed with Josh. I would watch this again over the first. And yes, thank you again, Jamie, for your thoughts on that. So that's Wonder Woman. If you have any thoughts on Wonder Woman 1984, we'd love to hear them. Popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Well, coming up next, you notice I didn't mention Soul yet and my thoughts on that. Well, I will have them coming up because I'm going to be mentioning the best in pop culture for 2020 coming up right after the break. This is the Pop Culture Cosmos. And we're back with the Pop Culture Cosmos. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here at the Pop Culture Cosmos along with my good friend, Mr. Happy Josh here himself, Josh Peterson. Well, it was a year, that's for sure, in 2020. I know we had to stay indoors a lot more than what we were planning to because of the coronavirus and everything that's going on. And so we got a chance to check out a lot of things that were on the TV. Didn't get a chance to check out as many movies as I normally would. So my list, I had to pare down on the movies from a normal top 10 to now a top 5. But I still have plenty of TV shows to watch. Oh, yeah, I have no soul. Yeah, no soul jazz pun. Yeah, right there for you. No, not today. Not today. But I wanted to go ahead and mention my best in pop culture for 2020. Wanted to go ahead and check that off right now. For movies, I still have to go ahead and check, and I'll probably get a chance to do so before Oscar nights, before our Oscar, I guess, our Oscar predictions, which Josh and I do each and every year right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. So I'm gonna have to still see Nomadland, One Night in Miami, Minari, and Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. All four of those movies have gotten great acclaim across the board, so I'm gonna have to go check out each of those movies before Oscar time. So that's definitely something I'm planning on doing. But for right now, I'm going to go ahead again and pare down a top 10 movies to a top 5. I saw plenty more than I saw plenty more than I saw plenty more than 10 movies, but unfortunately I didn't see more than 5 really good standout movies. Again, Wonder Woman 1984 was kind of a disappointment. The Netflix movies that were there, a lot of them were just action fare, mindless popcorn stuff. Yeah, there was just a lot of stuff out there that was just thrown out there that may have been on the shelves for a year or two. So here's what I have as far as the best in pop culture for movies for 2020. Number 5, Tenet. Tenet just barely makes the list for me. It was overall a pretty good film. For me, the thing is, it takes a while. You have to be very patient. I mean, people are going to be leaving the theaters or leaving the room like my daughter did in the very beginning because it's very hard and confusing to follow. I know, and that's obviously by design for Christopher Nolan, but for me, it was a visual and sound experience, and I enjoyed it immensely. And you finally explains itself almost 2 hours in. So for me, I stayed through it. I stayed with it. I stayed through it. And if you do, I think you're going to enjoy it. But again, it takes a long time in doing so. But for me, it was worth the wait, and it was worth the actual going and trying to understand everything that's going on as far as the whole premise of Tenet, the time variance, the whole 9 yards. And I want to go ahead and tell everybody that Tenet is worth your time. It just have to be patient. You just have to be patient in watching Tenet. Palm Springs is at number 4. Adam Sandberg, he actually did a very good job in this film. J.K. Simmons, just everybody on the cast did a very good job of it in sort of a weird Groundhog Day type scenario that keeps on going and going and reliving the same day over and over and over again. But it is something that is definitely worth watching. It's a new premise, a new twist on that Groundhog Day scenario. So I enjoyed my time with Palm Springs, and for a while, this was my number one movie by default because there really wasn't a whole lot else out there for me that I truly enjoyed and wanted to talk about. Disney's Soul is at number 3. Pixar's Soul is at number 3 for me. Soul is truly a good film, a very, very good film. In fact, it's one of the better Pixar movies that have come out for me. I enjoyed it. And I will say that it is, again, like all Pixar movies, very emotional, but still very much worth the time that you get to go ahead and spend on it. I do recommend Pixar's Soul to anybody out there. So, Josh, I know you haven't seen it yet, but I know you need to check it out, man. Pixar's Soul just truly is the music and the colors are, again, I know you talked about with the cinematography of Wonder Woman 1984. I could go on with the colors, how beautiful this movie looks, and the way it sounds, and the story is pretty good as well.
Is it so I was actually curious about this. Would you say it's like relatable to it's close to in comparison to Inside Out, where it has a great message about what it means to be human and mental health, but it goes off into some dark realms? Or would you say it's a little more?
It's not, it doesn't go into heaviness, as much heaviness as Inside Out. It does go a little bit in that direction, but it never gets as heavy or never gets as impactful as Inside Out. I think that's probably what I like to say about it.
Okay.
It stays, once it goes down a little bit those dark corners, it doesn't do it in such a, it doesn't do it as dark. It doesn't go as dark as Inside Out. It doesn't go as emotional. There is, you do get teared up at the end, but you don't, in like Inside Out. Inside Out is a tearjerker from halfway on. You're just tear jerking from halfway on because it's such an emotional gut punch. This doesn't really go all the way to do that. It stays a little bit lighter, but it's still a very effective movie in what it's trying to tell about humanity and the afterlife and everything of that nature. So again, it's a as far as in the Pixar realm, and I know we've done that before. We've had our list before. It's in the top 10 for me in Pixar, but it's not going to be up there as one of the best. But it's still a very, very good movie, and I highly recommend it. And in a year that doesn't have as many good outings, I think this is definitely one of the best that's out there, and I think people should check it out. And it's definitely worth your time. And it's always you're going to be able to tear up at the end with a Pixar movie. So there you
Okay,
go.
I'm interested. I want to watch it, so I'll probably give it a view this week, and I'll let you know my thoughts. But yeah, it sounds good to me.
All right. And number 2 for me is Borat subsequent movie film. This is a movie I know would be on my top 10 list at any given point in the year because this one just rocked the house, made me laugh. Maria Bakalova just absolutely killed it. Obviously, Borat himself, Sacha Baron Cohen, was terrific in the movie, but Maria Bakalova is what made this movie and what made this movie so special. Roger Hamilton is on. Hey, thanks for watching. He thought the acting was good, as with the special effects, but the story was lackluster and the resolution was too sappy for a comic book movie. I think he's talking about Wonder Woman 84. Just his opinion. Nope. Appreciate it. Your opinion out there. Again, I thought Wonder Woman 84 not quite met up to my expectations. And Twitch Degenerate 2018 says he was intrigued. So, yes, definitely appreciate your comments out there, Roger Hamilton and Jamie out there. Do appreciate your comments. Again, I want to say Borat's subsequent movie film is definitely something you should go out of your way to see. It is hilarious and it tells a great story. It's much better than the first. To me, it's much better than the first. The first one, I am not a huge fan of. I didn't think it was. I thought it was okay. The concept of the whole fish out of water from a foreign country and causing a great havoc. It got old to me during the course of that movie. This movie, it doesn't. I liked it a lot, and obviously the relationship that's a sub layer within the confines of that movie made it even more special for me. So that's Borat's subsequent movie film right there for you at number 2. And number 1 is also, I think, Josh's number 1 of the year, and that is Class Action Park. And it's not just because Seth Porges is on the show, but I will say for us, Class Action Park was the most emotional roller coaster ride movie that we weren't even expecting to watch. Movie that just a few weeks before I saw it, I didn't even know about anything about it. Class Action Park. I lived through the 80s, and I didn't even know anything about it. So it's something that if you have HBO Max now that you're watching Wonder Woman 1984, I highly, highly, highly recommend Class Action Park. It is really, really damn good. Josh?
Yeah, so Class Action Park, again, like it is a documentary for people who don't like documentaries. It's a gateway documentary. If you have not seen any documentaries, this is a great place to start because it's entertaining, it's tragic, it has everything that makes a good movie. And this is how I always describe it to people. It's like with the subject matter, it's like walking, it's like when you see a car accident and like you should like go get help, but you can't stop watching it happen. That is Class Action Park, and it is just, and I mean that in the best possible way. Like it is a fantastic experience.
It actually is one of those rare movies that surprises me, entertains me, shocks me, and makes me laugh, and also gets me teared up because of all the different things that are going on. It brings out so many different emotions, and I do highly recommend Class Action Park. Uh, Degenerate said 2018 says he didn't know either, but was good. So yes, okay. So yes, those are my 5 movies. Class Action Park at number 1, Borat subsequent movie film at number 2, Soul number 3, Palm Springs number 4, and Tenet number 5. For TV series, I'm going to go from 10 to 1. Number 10, Action Figure Adventure. It's a spiritual sequel to Rob McCallum's most famous documentary, Nintendo Quest. It's actually a spiritual sequel to that. Doesn't carry the emotional weight of it, but still, it's a fun ride. and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it very much, and I thought it was a very good docu-series. So hopefully you get a chance to check it out here in the States eventually. I know it's playing in Jinx TV in Canada, but I did get a chance to check it out. And Action Figure Adventure falls at number 10. Again, it's not Nintendo Quest. It's a spiritual sequel to it, but still, it's pretty darn good in its own right. So hopefully people will get a chance to check it out. Umbrella Academy is number 9. A really, really good premise this time around, going to Texas, trying to go ahead and delve into the JFK assassination. Really just something that I thought was really good overall, and the uh, intertwining subtext and sub stories that were laid in there, as far as the storylines that were all spread apart and that all came together at the very end. I really enjoyed the Umbrella Academy. Star Trek Lower Decks was a slow burn for me, but it really got good, and the latter half of the episodes of the season were simply outstanding. So I highly recommend the animated Star Trek Lower Decks. I think it is the best of all the Star Trek shows, and that includes Discovery and Star Trek Picard for 2020. Star Trek Picard was like, was okay. Star Trek Discovery was, okay. But Star Trek Lower Decks really got very good at the very end for me, so I do highly recommend Star Trek Lower Decks to anybody that hasn't caught it out there on CBS All Access or wherever they can get it. So I do highly recommend Star Trek Lower Decks. Thank you so much for the thumbs up and the heart. We truly appreciate everyone out there enjoying what we're doing. Want to go ahead and read off another comment real quick. Lower Decks did finally pick up, and yes, best for me also from Degenerate 2018, so I'm glad you got a chance to enjoy it. At number 7 is Lovecraft Country. HBO's Lovecraft Country, very, very good, combining of the reaffirmation of how terrible things were as far as for racial injustice, as far as how people and humans were treated during that course of time, but combining it with the new element of trying to not only inform and educate, but how terrible it was and how we can change that for the future and be better people if we go ahead and do so. But also the obviously taking the works of H.P. Lovecraft and combining those elements in there. So I truly enjoyed not only what I learned, but also what I was entertained by with Lovecraft Country. So hopefully you'll check it out on HBO Max and HBO and all that. The Vow, speaking of HBO, and HBO had a lot of good stuff. The Vow, dealing with the inner workings of NXIVM over the course of many years, a lot of inside videos and things of that nature that you would normally get during a docu-series of this type. The Vow, it's a good watch. It's really interesting and intriguing, and if you're ever wondering about the NXIVM inside scandal, inside cult, that as it were, as far as the inner workings of it for the last 20 years up until the time it obviously everything went haywire, and the leader now of this cult is now going to be in jail for quite a bit, well over 100 years. It gives you a deeper insight into this whole NXIVM cult, this whole NXIVM operation and organization, and how it was structured and how it was laid out. So it's very educational, very interesting, and also very binge worthy. It is The Vow. That's on HBO and HBO Max as well. Superstore is at number 4. I've been a high advocate of this show, but I think this is the series' best year, even though it had to be incompleted and fragmented because of coronavirus. I think the first 2 episodes primarily are two of the best episodes that they've ever done, that touched on not only the coronavirus and how retail outlets handle it. I think it was a very good statement in that fashion. And then also as well, the next episode with lead character America Ferrera's leaving. I understand that the series has been canceled because of America Ferrera's leaving, and also, just the fact that it's at this point in time, lead actress like that goes, and it's really hard to replace. So they feel they were going to go ahead and just finish out the rest of the season. Maybe a special, maybe a spinoff. We hear rumors on that, but Superstore, if that's the case, is going to close out with one of its best seasons, and I do highly recommend it as my number 4 show. McMillions. If you did not see McMillions, it's the inside on McDonald's winners, those contests from the 80s and 90s, is from those Monopoly games, and this tells you about the inside as far as the fixing that went on in those contests and how McDonald's wasn't even aware of it. So it is really intriguing. It's also very entertaining. It's light, it's funny, but also very good as well. It is McMillions, and it's also, I believe, on HBO and HBO Max. And HBO killed it this year with me. I don't know why, but HBO did. I've got more coming up from HBO coming up here in a sec. The Boys, which Josh and I absolutely love, had just a great a season in season two. This would normally, if this would have been last year, it might have even been my number one show. You never know. But The Boys had a fantastic year, had a lot of improvements, got a chance to delve deeper into storylines. Started off, I guess, doing more character building. So some people say it was a little slow to start off with, but they now that they know that they're one of the hottest shows in television, they now can actually structure the series for television, and they can actually structure a series with future in mind, with a future in mind. And I really think that at by the end everything went blank blank crazy, and it was just obviously a very good watch for me. Josh, while I read the comments, do you have any thoughts on The Boys? How was it for you overall?
It was good. I still have like 3 episodes left on the second season. Just a little slower watching TV shows these days. I know. I apologize, but yeah, it's a great show. It's very aware of itself, and it's aware of the limits that it has, and it portrays, like Eric Kripke said, like it portrays heroes as being people that you can't always rely on. Like, it shows you that you have to learn to kind of rely on yourself. People aren't always going to be there to save you, and I think that that's kind of uh, an important lesson to learn. Though that's also, it's you're kind of tainting something that seems pure at the moment. But yeah, there's a lot of good storytelling in it.
I enjoyed it thoroughly. Again, it was another outstanding season for The Boys, and that is my number 3 show for 2020. Number 2, Mandalorian. It was a close. To me, number 2 and number 1, you could pretty much pull over a blanket, because number 2, Mandalorian, for me was truly outstanding. I enjoyed every episode. Even the episodes that weren't as strong were still very good. It's much better than season 1, which had a couple stinkers. In fact, one real stinker in particular in Tatooine episode. Then mixed in with really really good episodes. This year had good, really good, or great episodes, and obviously it ended up on a finale that everybody is talking about. So The Mandalorian is number 2. Just a sensational job by Dave Filoni, and obviously, you know just everybody out there that did a great job, John Favreau and all that. So basically, it was an awesome time. Have you finished The Mandalorian yet?
No, 1 episode left. I'm getting there slowly. I've heard great things, but I just haven't had a chance to kind of check the whole thing out yet. But the Robert Rodriguez episode really cool, and I've been loving seeing all the extras uh with that episode. I don't know if you've seen the video of him playing the guitar and the little baby Yoda
Yep.
puppets kind of dancing along too. Really cool.
Again, that's number 2 for me. That is The Mandalorian. Degenerate 2018. He loves The Boys. He wants to rewatch Mando. He wants to binge that, and this is the way. This is the way for The Mandalorian. It is a very, very, very close number 2, and number 1 is the Watchmen. I think The Watchmen from HBO and HBO Max, simply outstanding. The production values are incredible. This movie, I mean, this series was just truly outstanding from beginning to end. The stories that it told, and Regina King's character is just truly mesmerizing as far as what she's doing on screen. She captivates the screen as far as being, and commands it. I mean, we just want to know and follow everything that she's doing, because she's just so sensational on the screen. Everybody involved was very good on it, and I cannot say enough great things about Watchmen. And it was something that was great. Something that was really great. I cannot say enough great things about Watchmen. It was close between The Mandalorian and The Watchmen, but yes, I definitely want to go ahead and see that. Roger Hamilton says he's behind in many of these shows like The Boys and Lovecraft Country, but agree with them being really good. I really appreciate you and Josh sharing your opinions on some of the other shows I haven't seen yet. Mandalorian was fantastic in its second season. Yeah, Roger, if you get a chance to see Lovecraft Country and The Boys, I do highly recommend them. And Mandalorian was fantastic in the second season, plus Degenerate 2018. He still needs to watch it as far as Watchmen. Too much to watch. Well, there was a lot to watch here as far as a lot of TV shows. I know movies maybe weren't that prevalent, at least good ones, but TV shows, I think there was a lot out there, so I can understand. But please, if you catch up with it, it is highly recommended, and that is The Watchmen at number one. So that so far is my list for pop culture. Obviously, we've talked about video games ad nauseum this year. Obviously, we've talked about wrestling with Ryan John Tabasco, and I will still have further conversations with Ryan coming up here. I'm going to drop a special PCC extra here with the rest of our conversation on tag teams and matches of the year, along with Jessica Boggs and also as well Noe and Fine talking about Wonder Woman, but Jessica Boggs on her thoughts on the best of television for 2020. So I'm going to throw that as a PCC extra coming up here during the week. But yes, Josh, just a very interesting year in 2020. Any last thoughts before we head to the break?
No, I mean there's been a lot of good stuff out there, and it sounds like 2021 is going to have some equally interesting things coming out, but more big budget items. So hopefully that will be something good. But yeah, 2020's it had some ups and downs. It was a roller coaster. Whereas 2019 had a lot of ups. Considering Endgame came out, so it's been a weird year for sure.
That it has been, my friend. That it has been. What are your thoughts out there on pop culture for 2020? What was your best for pop culture in 2020? We want to hear your thoughts. Popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. And again, appreciate all the comments today by Roger and also as well Jamie. Cannot thank you enough for doing that. Also as well, thank you so much again for the thumbs up and the heart and all that. I appreciate it, and so much for watching and listening as well. Coming up next, right after the break, it is Seth Porges, the co-director of Josh and my number one movie of the year. That is Class Action Park, now available on HBO Max. He's coming up to talk about his year with Class Action Park and what he might have in store for fans out there coming up in 2021 and beyond. This is the Pop Culture Cosmos. And we're back to close out the show. This is the Pop Culture Cosmos, and I cannot thank enough Seth Porges, co-director of Class Action Park, for appearing on today's show. Please, if you've not caught Class Action Park, even if you're not from the 80s, even if you can't relate to the 80s, it's still something you definitely need to see because it is just so emotional and just so funny, just so gasping as far as you can't believe all this stuff went on. I think it's a microcosm of what the carefree attitude and all the things that went on in the 1980s. Even if you're not familiar with even if you're not familiar with Action Park, please go check out Class Action Park today on HBO Max. Before we head on out, Josh, it's time for predictions for 2021 for the happy Josh year. So what's on your plate for 2021, my friend?
All right, just a few things I'm excited about. One being that 2021 is like our first soiree into the release of these new games that are exclusively for this next generation of consoles. Right? We have I forget. I don't know what's coming out first, but I know come the fall season we have Halo Infinite coming out, and this is really going to decide the future of the Halo franchise. And really, like, this is Microsoft's flagship property. So I'm really excited to play this game, especially with the open world aspects to keep talking about. And, knowing that this is knowing that they're making this for last gen consoles as well, as they clarified earlier in the week. It just kind of makes me wonder if it's going to suffer from the cyberpunk problem where, we're going to have a bunch of issues coming out the gate here. Next one I got here is the Justice League Snyder Cut. So, we just got done talking about Wonder Woman, and I know Zack Snyder and his wife were heavily involved in the production of that movie. And Deborah Snyder had actually said not Deborah Snyder, but
Patty Jenkins?
Yeah, had said that she loved working. She wanted her Wonder Woman to exist in Zack Snyder's universe as opposed to the one that Joss Whedon created in that Justice League version. So it's cool to know that, like, all these people that have been working on this thing thus far do support Zack Snyder's vision, and it gives me more hope for maybe a Justice League Part Two, and we'll see more things coming out the gate there as far as Man of Steel 2 is concerned. Next, I got the Mass Effect remaster. We've talked about this at length. Really excited about this game. Just curious how it's going to look and what's how many hours it's going to take to play it. Is there going to be any new content on there? Stranger Things season 4 is going to be. I'm excited about this. I don't know if you've read about all like the new cast additions that have happened during the quarantine. So that makes me concerned about how. Sorry, my dog is like biting me in the knee. Um, it's making me concerned about like how busy it's going to be. I'm really excited about the show. Love the show. I feel like we've gone too long without new episodes of Stranger Things, but I also have this fear now that's going to suffer from the old Spider-Man thing where there's too many things happening on the screen at once. So here's to hoping that it's good. Next, I got Atari VCS 800. So do you remember we had heard about this when we went to E3 back in 2017?
Yes.
They had been talking about this for so long, and the release date just keeps getting pushed back and
I
pushed
still
back.
get the press releases.
Yeah, same. So I'm wondering now at this point if it's even real. I want it, but there's no. It was supposed to drop December 14th, and that didn't happen, and now there's no new release date for it. So I'm curious now, is this thing real? Is it something that is going to materialize here soon? What's going on here? Is it if Atari is really wanting back in the console game, they're not like cultivating a lot of faith in their product?
And a time to spend or a time to release video games would have been this year, especially with
Yeah.
everything going on and people are stuck at home. And you've seen the video game industry, one of the few industries to actually profit from what's gone on in 2020.
Yeah, yeah. So it's baffling me because there are people who want this thing, they're just not putting it out. So it just makes me wonder, like, what's going on? Is it something? Are they just going to scratch it after they had all that funding? I don't know. Atari fell apart so easily before, so who's to say it wouldn't happen a second time? All right, moving on here. I got Hellboy's return. So somehow, like this happened back in October. Hellboy, I think August or October. Hellboy came back. He Hellboy died in Hellboy in Hell. That was his last like comic book arc, and then he just started making new Hellboy comics. I just discovered this like maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago. So this is exciting. They haven't said like how he's back yet, so I imagine as the new issues come out in 2021 that we're gonna get bigger backstory on what exactly happened to him. But I'm excited. I have a reason. I have stopped reading a lot of Marvel stories just because like I have a continuity obsession and I can't like go back and read all these things. Like I got brave and tried to read Amazing Spider-Man from issue 1. Then I go back and there are hundreds and hundreds of issues that date all the way back to the 60s. So I don't know how that's going to go, but I love standalone stories. Like Hellboy has these standalone arcs. I will read Marvel and DC stuff that's kind of more standalone, but yeah, really excited about Hellboy coming back. Finally, A Day to Remember. I don't know if anyone's fans out there of this band or the metalcore genre or post-hardcore, I guess you call it. But A Day to Remember they have not dropped an album since 2016's Bad Vibrations, and they were one of those bands that kind of seemed like they were going to call it quits, and now they're coming back. So anyone who grew up in the early 2000s emo scene, like this emo screamo scene, like this is going to be a big day when this album comes back because I don't know if you've ever listened to the album Common Courtesy, but it feels, I always tell people I describe this album, it feels like going home. And I'm really excited about this album. I'm sure there are other things coming out in 2021 that I'm really excited about, but I just, like I told you before the show, with all the uncertainty revolving around COVID and, politics and all that, I don't know what's going to happen. So these are the things that I'm hoping for sure are going to happen, but there's a lot more that I'm sure I will be excited about once more permanent things are said about them.
With Hellboy, obviously the movie just basically fell on flat in its face.
Mm.
Would it have been a better idea to go and make it into a series?
So that's an interesting idea. Like I feel like that would be a cool like HBO Max series or even a Netflix series. Yes, because Hellboy is something that it took them, I want to say at least probably a good 40 or 50 issues to like fully flesh out his story. And there's so many things that kind of live in that world, the BPRD, right? And you have Sir Edward Grey Witchfinder, you have Lobster Johnson, you have the Goon, like you have all these characters that live in this very vibrant, I guess you call it Mignola verse because it's written by Mike Mignola. But yeah, I mean, I think that it would really do great as a show, and that could be something that could really find the interest of people. It bums me out that the movie was so bad because you know it was being made by somebody who had no appreciation for the comic books, and that kind of kills me. So yes, I would hope that it'd be revived as a series, but who's to say at this point, man?
Who's to say, indeed? But maybe Hellboy will get a return someday. But I think it's going to be a little bit of a period of time before people will go ahead and want to go back to Hellboy simply because of the fact that the last movie fell so hard on its face. But I am looking forward to a lot of what Josh is looking forward to, including Halo Infinite, Justice League Snyder Cut, Mass Effect, the Mass Effect remaster. I'm looking forward to that one. Stranger Things season 4, Atari VCS 800, if it ever comes out. He's also looking forward to Hellboy's return in the comics and a Day to Remember new album. A Day to Remember's new album. So we want to hear your thoughts out there on what you're looking forward to in 2021. We'd love to share it on the show. Please let us know. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com, or also as well Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. You can go ahead and share it to us on social media. We'd love to hear your thoughts anytime in the comments. We'll go ahead and be happy to share your thoughts on what you're looking forward to in 2021. And speaking of that, I'm going to be sharing what I'm looking forward to in 2021 coming up on the Friday show, either with Josh or Marcus. I think it's going to be Marcus because he's the traveling man right now. So I think he'll be back to go ahead and talk about it because we still haven't heard his best in pop culture for 2020. So definitely want to hear what he has to say, as it will be dropping. Guess when, Josh? In the new year in 2021. So I'm looking forward to that as the PC Multiverse drops next year. But my friend, it's been a great episode. Once again, want to give big props again to our good friend Seth Porges, co-director of Class Action Park, our #1 movie here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. But any last thoughts on the way out?
Yeah, I'm gonna do some shameless self promotion here. If you guys have not had a chance to read Congratulations, You Suck, it is on sale right now at Amazon.com for $13, and there are about 5 copies left. I'm sure they'll order more if you guys buy these, but pick it up, please. And let me know your thoughts on it. I'd be incredibly grateful for any feedback. Leave a review. The book it's garnered mostly positive reviews, but I'm always looking for feedback, and I've put a lot of heart and soul into this work. And for $13, that's kind of a bargain as opposed to the $20 price range it was at before. So pick it up. I greatly appreciate it, and then let me know what you think about it.
I'll give it a negative review right now for you. Guess what? Guess what my negative review would be?
It's
It's not
not.
long enough, man. It's not long enough. It's all good.
It needs more pages.
Yes,
Another
needs
another
more
part two.
pages. No, I'm just teasing. I'm just teasing, my friend.
Congratulations, you suck again.
Yes, no. It's actually a really great book. I did have an opportunity to check it out over the past couple months since I got it. So yes, it's, still waiting for that press copy he was supposed to send me. But so I went ahead and got it, and I will go, and I'm just going to say great things about it. I've enjoyed my time with it, and I hope you will too. It is Congratulations, You Suck, on sale right now. Please go get it at Amazon, and also if you're into it, Barnes and Noble as well. My friend, it's been a great episode. I cannot thank you enough, as always, being part of it. Also, as well, want to give a big shout out to everyone who hearted and liked our video for today's broadcast, and everyone who took the time to watch and listen to today's program. Again, I will be back with Marcus or Josh, not sure which, but Marcus or Josh, for the Friday show in the new year. Plus, we're going to be dropping a PCC Extra on Wednesday featuring Noah Ian Fine, Ryan John Tambasco, and Jessica Box from the TV Ratings Guide. So look for that wherever you get your podcasts. So for Josh Peterson, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day in paradise right here in the Pop Culture Cosmos. Thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great. Thanks for watching and listening, everyone. We truly appreciate it. Jamie, Roger, thank you for all your great comments. We appreciate it. Thank you. And